Back again, this time with a very belated announcement for New Worlds November. If you're not familiar with New Worlds November, it is a reading event created by the Bookish Bryants, which focuses on science fiction, or more specifically, short science fiction. So short stories or novellas, 250 pages or less. Each week also has a different prompt, which you do not have to follow if you don't want to. They're just there to help those who are new to science fiction kind of find their way, and just fun guidelines for the rest of us. So the prompt for week 1 is terrestrial, so science fiction that takes place here on Earth. Week 2 is extraterrestrial, so science fiction that takes place off of Earth. Week 3 is classic science fiction, so science fiction stories published before 1965. And week 4 is robots or AI, artificial intelligence. And just to add a little bit of fun, or maybe a little challenge to your New Worlds November reading, they are including a bit of a scavenger hunt this year. So in addition to finding stories that fit the weekly prompts, you can also look for stories that will fit into a list of sub-themes. So those sub-themes are alien archaeology, alien romance, alternate worlds or dimensions, far future, war or military, genre crossing, first contact, time travel, invasions, humorous, political, and libraries. And that is not all. There is also an extra credit prompt, and the extra credit prompt is titled Visit a Parallel Universe. So to visit that parallel universe, you would look for a story that first appeared in print and has been adapted into another medium, like a movie or a TV series or an audiobook or an old radio program or any other media that you can find that has an adaptation. They have also invited a number of co-hosts to join them, myself included. The other co-hosts are Steve Donahue, Sean D. Standfast, Matt at Science Fiction Reads, Jim at Jim Reads Too Slow, Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, Chris at Unlimited Reads, Mark at Booktime with Elvis, Michael K. Vaughn, Fred at Read by Fred, Nathan at The Rambling Reviewer, Gareth at Books, Music, and Other Magic, and Bob's Books, where the O in Bob has been replaced with a 0. And I actually don't know that booktuber's name because I'm not familiar with their channel, but I will have their channel and everyone else's linked down in my descriptions if you'd like to check them out and watch their New Worlds November videos. So surprisingly, I do actually have a pretty solid TBR for New Worlds November this year. So week 1 is terrestrial. I will be reading The Engines of God by Jack McDivitt. So this is a full-length novel, but last year, not for New Worlds November, I read about half of this book and got distracted and never finished it. I have about 200 pages left, so I thought this would be a great time to finish that. And it checks the alien archaeology box on my scavenger hunt. I will also be reading Story of Your Life in this short story collection by Ted Chiang. I actually meant to read this last year for New Worlds November, but I never did get to it, so I want to make sure I read it this year. For week 2, which is extraterrestrial, I will also be reading from The Essential Hal Clement Volume 2. This is a collection of 18 short stories, and I will be reading all of those which take place on Earth. This also will count for my own reading event called Hal for the Holidays, because I am trying to create some buzz for Hal, who has been largely forgotten and is my favorite science fiction author. Week 2 is extraterrestrial, and I will be reading Seasonings by Hal Clement, which takes place in the world of Medea, created by Harlan Ellison, and that appears in this collection of short stories, also edited by Harlan Ellison. Then I'll be going back to Volume 2 of The Essential Hal Clement to read all of the stories that take place off of Earth. For week 3, which is classic science fiction published before 1965, I'll be reading The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, which was published in 1955. I'll also be visiting The Parallel Universe, which is the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers that was made in the 70s and stars Donald Sutherland. For week 4, I will be reading Blot by Hal Clement, which can be found in this collection of short stories called Foundation's Friends and takes place in Isaac Asimov's robot world. I will also be rereading Android's Orchid by Damien Letts, which is the best portrayal of an android I have ever read. In fact, it's so convincing that I could almost believe Damien Lutz himself is an android. Then if I get through all of those stories, and I probably will, I do have a backup. This is called A Usual Lunacy by D.G. Compton. I have never heard of this book or this author before. I found this about a week ago in a little free library, and I absolutely love the cover. And it takes place in a far future where love has been identified as a virus and that they feel needs to be cured. I thought that sounded like a fun premise, and it will tick the genre crossing box on the Scavenger Hunt because it is supposed to be a romance. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or the Body Snatchers rather, will actually tick the Invasions box on my Scavenger Hunt. So yeah, that is my TBR for New Worlds November, and I will call that the end of the video.